So we really thought of like a lot of people in that space are not simply motivated by money or anything. Especially for us, it never was. We never started this because we thought it would get that big as it got right now. Um, we really thought that this technology can change the way how we interact on a P2P level, a person-to-person level, just because it removes so many central players that we're currently relying on that can restrict access to markets. I mean, you know it through Facebook or Spotify is like one of these examples. You have an artist that wants to provide music, and you have, for example, me that wants to listen to music, and most of the value in the whole process is captured on Spotify, which is a third-party platform, which is just enabling the connection between the artist and me, the listener. So the motivation from us was always to the technology can solve these problems and connect, provide a technological layer where people can interact on a P2P basis. And for me also, it was always an important topic how we can give back in with what we're doing. So we thought about it. How can we add on the infrastructure side? How can we add like impact to what we are doing? And we came up with the idea of the impact validator, which is basically a new project that we're currently building up. And the idea is really to have the combination of getting these rewards and yields through providing security to the network, in parallel to providing good or to providing money for projects that are actually trying to solve the huge problems that we face on Earth. We all know like the last year was really profitable for most of the people that invested in the space. So a lot of people made a lot of money, which I think in a sense is good, because I think a lot of people in that space are motivated by the right reasons. But still, we have that problem that a lot of people made a fortune, but still we have 1 in 5 children is starving. 23 countries still have no access to modern medicine. So even though we have the growth of this new technology on the one side, still the real world problems are kind of left aside. So our idea was really, how can we make sure that the growth of these networks also includes or helps to achieve, mainly for now, the sustainable development goals that the United Nations designed. And that is really the idea that we want to work on, is like, how can we support that with what we are doing right now? So the idea is really, and I think that's kind of the cool thing, you can automate these things and really have, on the one side, still make some sort of profit through providing the security to the network, and in parallel providing money for social networks. And I really thought of like how new technologies evolve, and also if you look back at what I said about the internet, normally you have like a new technology that someone invents or that people are starting to use. The technology is growing, applications and products are built on top of that. Then over the years, these networks or technologies grow. People are using these. We have seen it one-on-one with the internet. And so through that, wealth is created. And then obviously in the end, that wealth gets put back into the infrastructure, and the whole system evolves even further. And then maybe at that point, there are some people that think, okay, now we've created so much wealth, how can we do good? But it's not really part of the technological cycle. It's something that develops out of it, and is something that kind of is left to some people that think about that topics. But there are also a lot of people that don't really think about these things. And our idea is, how can we include doing good on an infrastructure level? Imagine like every time you use the internet, a small amount of what you're paying for would be donated to a problem, to a project that supports something. And you couldn't even make the choice. It's just integrated in the system itself. So our idea really is integrating doing good on an infrastructure level, so that the growth of an application layer and also the growth in users and the wealth that's created all in parallel also affect doing good. And the idea is to do it in the crypto native way. That means automating as much as possible. That's the cool thing with that technology. It's possible. So the idea is really you provide security to these networks and stake your tokens. So you're actually really adding value to these networks as well. You still get a share of your staking rewards as a passive income. And in parallel, in the same time, you're also giving away a share of your passive income to impact automation organizations and completely automated. So the idea is, and I'm gonna go into the model in a second, is really you stake SOL with us, and through that you can really already see how you can have an impact on what we're actually trying to achieve. We're working together with the Maximum Impact Fund. I'm going to go into that in a second. So how is it actually working? The idea is pretty simple. We as staking facilities will operate a validator node, and a node that I described earlier that executes transactions on a network and gets block rewards for free. We ourselves and also delegators can stake their token on that infrastructure, and we set a really high fee. If you remember, back in the model, I said 10% was the commission fee, so the share that the infrastructure providers take to operate the infrastructure. In that case, the fee would be 50% and not 10%. So it would be fairly high for these networks. So 50% of the rewards, the staking rewards that get that accumulate over the year, get automatically donated to impact donations, and the other 50% go back to the delegators, the token holders. So you pay a fairly high fee, if you want to put it that way, in terms of what you're giving away. With other validators, you would potentially only give 10% away, but with the impact validator, you automatically support good projects. So what is the idea, or what are we working with? Obviously, the idea is to make the impact validator as big as possible, have as many delegations, and then have as many impact as possible. We are starting that on Solana, for the Solana network, and the idea is really to grow this as a movement and have other validators run impact validators on different blockchains as well, so that we really create a movement of people wanting to do good and really have this as an essential part of the infrastructure of blockchains. So in terms of maybe how do we try to create impact for now? I mean, ideally for myself, I would like to do stuff myself, but we are still in such an early phase with the technology and with our company, so I don't have the time to start own projects. But for now, we are working with GiveWell and their Maximum Impact Fund. You can check that out on their website. They are really trying to find the best or the most needed project, or the projects that need the money the most, and preemptively basically distribute the money to these projects. So all of that money goes to the Maximum Impact Fund. We'll also put some of the funds into the GiveWell operations, that they can obviously grow their operations as well. And that's really the whole idea of it in the first place. So we're going to give all the donations to the Maximum Impact Fund. In later stages, the idea is really to for now grow the impact staking community. So I think our goal is to launch the first validator in Q1 22. And the idea really is in 2022 to grow the community, get people involved. And then at the later point, maybe we thought about ideas like a staking DAO or impact staking DAO with where people can propose projects that we should donate to, and really grow this as a movement to support also projects that might be also on a technological level. So, for example, try to educate people in third world countries about this new technology and therefore give them an opportunity to early on participate in this technology. Or it could also be providing or financing infrastructure, physical infrastructure that is needed to interact with technologies like blockchain. So for now, we have a website where you can register if you want to stay up to date. It's called impact-validator.org. The mission again is really to add that humanitarian aspect to the growth of the technology of tomorrow, as you put it in that way. Huge shout out again also to Yip, who's here as well. She did an amazing job in coordinating and developing the project. So yeah, that would be it from my side for now.
Thank you, Julius. This is amazing. I have to double check with the audience because we have a next speaker, but I don't think I see Lakshay Taneja. So please, if you're in the speaker list, let us know. But should that not be the case, then we have plenty of more time, Julius, for you to perhaps answer questions and as
Sure.
well for us to dig a bit more into how we could actually be part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, that will be really cool. Because at the end, the last part for me is very interesting. So I would like myself, if I don't see, let me see. I see a lot of comments already. That was fantastic. So if you guys have any question, feel free to just tell us. I can definitely open the mic. And if one myself will be like, how you are gonna select the projects, guys? You say you have one, but perhaps if you can explain a bit of the philosophy behind and what to think of.
Give me a second. I'll just quickly go to GiveWell and show you why. So we had the problem in the first place that we thought, like, how can we make this? We think it's really, really important, but on the same side, we don't have the time to manage like the coordination between the projects and funding different projects. I mean, it's a lot of work if you want to do it right. And I think it's really important that if you do it right, and you need time for that. And if there's one thing we're short of, it's probably time. So we did some research on how or which projects are doing really good work in coordinating impact donations, not maybe where you really can understand the projects that they support. And I heard a lot of good things from GiveWell over the years, and basically their idea with the Maximum Impact Fund is that they do the research and select projects that where the money is needed the most. You can, on this website here, I'll share it in the chat in a second, you can read about how they basically make the decisions on which projects they support. And you can read more about the projects here, and also have transparent information on how much they already donated to these projects. Then we can read more about or have links on these projects. And basically the Maximum Impact Fund is then, or what GiveWell is doing, they are basically distributing the money to the projects that are currently needing it the most. That's why we started with the Maximum, or with GiveWell for now. as I said, the idea later on is really to open that up and maybe also have projects being able to apply for donations or something like that. So that was just a start because it was an easy way for us to get that off the ground pretty fast without having the overhead in designing a whole giving structure or project structure.
Very good. And perhaps a bit more of how do you see this growing in the future? So you start with Solana, you say you would like to integrate with other platforms.
So key for us is obviously that that should not be in any sense branding exercise for us as staking facilities. And I think for that, it's really important to grow that as a community effort. So there cannot be one brand behind that, because then it makes no sense to achieve these things, or I don't think it's gonna have the power that it has if you grow a community around it. So we already started talking to other validators, and the idea is really to get them involved as well, and that they start running an impact validator, for example, on the Polkadot network or on the Cosmos network. So in the ideal case, different operators for each network, so that we really have a community of high quality validators that operate these validators, and then also in each network have different people supporting these validators. So the idea is really in my vision, ideal vision, we would have a impact validator in each major protocol, and in the ideal case, it will also be in the top 10 in terms of delegations. Let's see if we can make that happen. But yeah, we can have a huge impact with that already. So that would be my ideal vision for that.
Very good. I just want to say if anyone has any additional question for Julius.
I can also check if I see anything that I haven't answered from the talks, from my talk before. I don't think so. If you have any open questions, please feel free to ask.
I definitely have one, because you said that you was supporting you guys. We are as well, as you know, we are opening this network for tokenization to make the project of your own token happen. So it will be good to see you both views, if you don't mind sharing. How do you see this happening? How can you see UNIT being good support in this respect?
I mean, I think there are a lot of different ways. I mean, you've been great in what you've been doing so far. I mean, organizing all these events, getting so many people involved in UNIT is, I mean, this is a huge task already. And as I said, like for the second stage that we are planning, like really open up the community, getting people involved, I think that's already a point where you could be a tremendous supporter for the project. I think also in terms of how we could structure a DAO in the later stage, if we at some point get to that point, and maybe it would, I mean, we thought about that kind of, if we could integrate some sort of token model so that people that delegate the most to the impact validators have a saying on projects that we support. I think that is something that needs to be designed really well, because that can be tricky in some ways. Also, if we're switching the donations to different projects too often, that could also really be bad for the project. So we need to think of ways on how we can, I think sustainable support of these projects is really important. And I'm really, in general, not a fan of just donating money. I think that's always, or in most of the cases, not really solving the problem. It's just solving an issue that we have right now, but the problem starts way earlier. So I think at some point, that's also why I said building infrastructure, educating people about new technologies, and that doesn't necessarily need to be blockchain. It can also be like, how can we find a reliable water source or whatever, finance someone who's doing that. I think a huge problem that we have with donations right now in our donating system in general, I'd say, is that we try to tackle the issue or the tip of the iceberg rather than trying to solve the problem on the bottom. And for me, obviously, that would be also a goal to have it in the long run. Systems that try to really educate people and build sustainable impact. I mean, I have a friend, for example, who that was something that kind of is one of the problems. He said, like, he lives in Africa and we are donating clothes, me as well, for charity things all the time, and he said, like, if you think of this, it's really not a good practice because these clothes get sent to Africa or wherever, and get basically distributed to the people for free or not really much money, and the local industry, which is trying to provide clothing or build up an economy around clothing, is really dying because they can't compete with clothing that comes from Europe for free. So it's really, it might solve the problem for that second. Okay, the people have something to wear, but in the long run, it really hinders the economy of the country. Same with food donations and everything. If we donate food for free, that might help in the short notice, but the local economy can never compete with free food donations, free money donations. So I think we need, if we really want to solve these problems in the long run, we need to fundamentally change how we do donations. So more really try to help local industries and don't destroy local economies. I think that's one of the huge problems that we have.
I really appreciate that view. I totally agree. I do think the more the better to do that. I see, Vladi, if you would like to raise a question, feel free. You're most welcome. What I want to say is, like, I totally agree. I think the NGO is very often the catalyst to a start, but if you really want to solve the problem, you need to have a regeneration way of for profit for good, let's say. So I like the idea of what you say. You just have to tackle the problem from where it comes, and sometimes it's through education. Sometimes you have a clever way to, basically tackle the systemic issues and not necessarily only try to solve the surface. I think that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say that the work is not important. I think, for example, with medicine and everything, there are things that definitely can be done through money in the first place. But I think we should always keep in mind, like, also, or in the same time, also start supporting local projects that are actually trying to sustainable support these projects. Have you there's a question. Have you mentioned the importance of owning nodes as well as staking for community tokenization's impact? I'm not really sure what you mean. Maybe Zenitha, or I don't know, I hope I pronounce your right name correctly. You can, I'm not really sure what you mean with the question. If you have, if you could.
You want Santea, I can unmute yourself, I guess.
Yeah, owning nodes as well as staking for tokenization's impact. So owning nodes. Okay, you mean like that more people also participate in or own staking nodes? I think that, I mean, I think there are different. Definitely, that's also what I meant with, like, decentralization, and adding more nodes to these networks is definitely also a really important part to grow the impact. I absolutely agree. I think that's. I hope I understand your question right. But to maximize impact, obviously you need as many node operators as possible. Yeah.
Very good. Unless someone has more questions, I think, yeah, let's see. I don't think so. Correct?
Oh, yeah, I think I talked about that. I know, I mean, the owning of no. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I talked a bit about that earlier, so I think you will.
Okay, so yeah, unless someone has a question, I think it would be perhaps a good time to wrap it up, Julius, and thank you for the great intro and the great project, and looking forward to be part of it. And yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you a lot
for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.